Okay, with this, before I start, I wanted to thanks everyone for helping me in achieving 5K plus subscriber milestone. Really thanks from a heart, core of my heart to everyone to achieve this milestone. I know it's just a start. We have to basically go beyond. It's a way long journey, right? I do understand. But thanks for helping me to achieve this small but a very lovely milestone. Okay, and folks who are wishing me birthday also. So thanks for your lovely wishes for the birthday as well. So let's talk about the today's agenda. So in today's agenda or the live session, we are going to cover the questions which folks have asked me on my Check the System Design series, on the videos which I have conducted, or on the LinkedIn, Instagram, or different platforms. So today I'm going to cover all of those. And if you have any sort of questions, feel free to basically uh, put on the chat. I'm going to pick all your questions from the chat, and we will be having a lot of good discussion. So if you have any questions about the career, about the interviews, about the tech, about anything that you have in mind, so put down in the chat. I'm going to cover all today. So we will be starting with something. So let's start with something which someone have already asked a question for, and from where will move it. Okay, so we have a question from Pratyush. Okay, so he's asking basically, I am feeling scared of this recession. I'm the only person earning in the family. Should I worry due to the market condition? Okay, yes, I do understand now. On internet, on social media, and almost all the platform, people are worried about recession after the incidents of Twitter, LinkedIn, like so many different, not LinkedIn, sorry for my bad, Facebook basically, and there are so many other companies who are basically talking about the firing or layoff, all sort of thing. So first thing first, should you worry about that? My sense is yes and no both. Like what it meant by like yes and no, both. So no, because if you are a person who have a right set of skill set, then you don't have to worry about. It's just a time frame. It's like that someone didn't like you or someone didn't have a requirement for you. It doesn't mean like you are not worth. Some definitely some you are worth for some other companies and for some other people. So you don't have to worry about the recession. That is for sure. So don't worry about that. That is first thing first. Now coming to you should worry about that, and like what it meant by. So now if you don't have any savings, right, and you are hit because of any incidents of due to recession or whatnot, right, in that particular case you have to worry about, because someone have to, like Pratish was talking about, he has to support his family, and he's the only person who basically supports his family. He's the only earning person, right? Now it's a problem. Okay, why it is a problem? Because you are the only person, you don't have any savings, and now there is a recession which actually, because of some reason, it actually hit you. Now you will go into the panic mode. Reason why you will go into panic mode, because you will think about like, dude, how I will survive for a month or so until I get another job. Then you may not be taking the right decisions. So what I will suggest for recessions for everyone, first, be play smart. When I say play smart, you have to observe the market. You don't have to basically like panic from the market. Like whatever is happening, it may be happening. Whatever the shit is happening, let it happen. Like no one can get rid of this recession. Like recession is going to hit each and everyone. So be peaceful in mind. Even you are not laid off, you are basically going to hit by recession in one or the other form. What you should do first, play smartly in terms of have some savings. Like stop your extra expenditures. Like if you have some luxuries, you have some goals there where you wanted to spend some money, please stop doing that, like for some time, so that in worst case if you hit by recession, you have something as in backup, which is very important. Now the second thing which I will say, invest on your learning. Like people who may be living the luxury life, and they may not be doing something good or critical in their corporate life, right? So for those folks, I will say invest on your learning. In worst case, even if the recession hits, basically, you will find a new job very easily. I will tell you a small example. One of my network, he got basically fired, and basically he got a job within a day, like next job within a day, and with a better package. So it will happen if you have good knowledge. It's just that people, the companies who have hired in bulk, definitely they are figuring out some cost cutting mechanism, right? Even talking about in my organization, they have played strategic, like as I said, like control on your expenses. What they started doing it, they started charging for a small thing that was earlier given as in perk, maybe a small thing like tea, coffee, or sort of thing. But it is okay. Like, why do we worry about? Because if you give me a salary, at least I can, like, I'm much like I can afford the tea or coffee, right? I don't have to worry about, right? Definitely, if you don't give me a salary, I don't have a job, then that's a panic mode. So you don't have to panic for. Okay, let's talk about the other question from Kumar. So what does Kumar say is basically, in one of my interview, I was asked a question. I started, but he was like, "You are doing in a wrong way. This won't work." So after which he said, "Stop. Let's move to the other question. What should we do in such situation?" Okay. So now the problem is genuine, right? So the person who is on the other side of the table is also a human being, right? He's also a developer. He has learned certain thing in certain fashion. He may not be knowing all the possible ways or all the possible solutions to a problem, right? Which is fair enough. Now, how to basically, how to ensure that whatever you are talking about, both of you people are on the same page, which is very important. If you are not on the same page, you may be telling the best possible solution, but if that solution is something which other person don't understand, then that's a big pain. Like, you know multiple language, you know Spanish, you know like Japanese and whatnot. You may be speaking very good Spanish and Japanese, but on the other person, if he is not able to understand, what's the point of knowing so many languages, right? That's the same thing. Now, what you need to do basically in such scenarios, try to have a good collaboration between both of you. What it meant by, don't try to prove yourself, or don't try to prove that someone on the other side that, dude, you don't know these things and I am a better developer than you. Never ever try that, right? Because that is not going to work. Now, what you should do, you should actually build a healthy discussion, like in terms of, let's see if that works or not. I have tried certain things in past and it had worked for me, and justify why you are saying that this is going to work, or ask for some hint why the person on the other side, which an interviewer, feels like this solution is not going to work, right? We have to understand mutually why you are saying something. Definitely there is a communication gap between both of the folks. Try to bridge that communication gap by answering few things and by asking few questions, which is very, very important. So always don't go into the panic mode. Never ever try to justify yourself. That is not going to work, because if you start justifying, trust me, dude, the most of the time, like, the power is on the other side of the table during the interviews. So if you go rude, or you try to starting justifying, mostly it is not going to work in most of the cases. Build a healthy discussion, build a good communication, try to understand, and try to basically speak it loud so that the other person on the table can understand. So don't worry about such situation. It's just that it can happen. And in worst case, if you feel like things didn't go well, the journey doesn't end. Like, you can try in other companies, you can try back in the same company, or in the worst case, if you feel like your interview was completely screwed up because of the interviewer, you can ask HR, request HR, that I feel like this didn't go well because of such as a reason. Probably can you try rescheduling my interview with another interviewer? And most of the time this also works, right? So you don't have to worry about it. It's just that you have to be polite and communicate it well. Okay, let's see, we have another question from Aman. Okay, is it the right time to switch, as I'm worried about the market condition? Okay, as I said, recession is definitely there, and it is going to hit like everyone in one form or the other. May not be layoff, may not be like quitting the job or sort of thing. But now, like, switching is something you should take a very cautious call. The reason is, you have to understand, in the current organization, you have understood your ecosystem, right? Along with that, you have invested lot of time in terms of building that relationship, building that trust. It's not just about money, it's just the trust that you have built over the period of time. Now, if you switch to other organization or the company, and you are not able to build that trust and relationship in that small time, and if a company goes for some financial crisis, then you may be the person who get hit, or you get in a category of like those people who are going to be laid off or whatnot, right? So always stay in your company, like I will say, why stay in a company? Because you have literally built a good relationship, you have invested a good time. And if you feel like definitely you're getting a very good opportunity in other companies, right? Just evaluate certain parameter. One, don't go with the FAANG, or don't go with the that is a product based company or whatnot. Check how that company is basically performing. If it is a IPO public company, just go and check what sort of product they have launched, what of sort of things they have done. So evaluate on those parameters, right? What new things they are investing on. Second parameter, if it is not a public company, go and check the investors basically. So who is basically backing up that company? When that basically investment was like gained by that particular organization or the company, right? When was the seed funding or any series funding that was given? What was the value? Do that company have that enough value or the bank amount basically, so that they can continue serving or paying to the employees for at least 4 year or 5 year down the line, right? If they don't have that much amount in their bank account, then probably if there is some business hit or some hard call need to be taken, you may be a person that come into that category, right? That may be a difficult point, right? Okay, so you can switch as I said, but take a very cautious call. You should not do what we were doing at the time of COVID, right? Everyone was jumping from one company to the other company in order to just get some good, you can say, perks and definitely a good hike. So people have gone through 2x and 3x factors as well in terms of the compensation. Do not rush for compensation these days. Like, trust me, dude, you should not. Now, so there is another question from Alok. I'm a fresher. Should I target for FAANG, product-based companies, startup, or MNCs? Okay, this is a very cool. So if you would have asked me this question, Alok, some time back, probably a year back, I would have given you a different answer. But considering like how things are going right now in terms of the recession and the market condition, I will help you with certain things. So talking about the FAANG, most of the FAANG have freeze their hiring at least for a Q1, which is like in 2023 till March or April, probably there won't be any hiring. And after that, if recession and the market condition is better, basically, probably things will improve, right? So you can plan and target and prepare for yourself for any of the FAANG if you have your dreams and you know why you wanted to join a FAANG. Don't go by just name because it is a FAANG. It will give you a lot of perk and sort of thing. Trust me, that depends on situation and the times, right? It is not always true. Second, product based companies, in terms of quality of work, it is always preferred as compared to any you can say MNCs. You get good quality of work to do, and you have basically you can continue on a project for a longer duration instead of jumping from one project to other project. That happens in MNCs mostly, and in MNCs most of the time you work on the surface only. You don't get opportunity to go into the depth because you have deliveries in terms of features, and client is sitting in your head to deliver the feature, instead of thinking much about the core fundamental of engineering aspects. Sometimes that happen, right? But again, so if I talk about the current scenarios, yes, you can definitely join a product based company. Like you should target if you are trying to build some strong knowledge and you wanted to basically go deeper into that stack and sort of thing. Startup, as simple, startups are in always a rapid fast fire mode, so you always get a lot of cool and challenging opportunities where you don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? Even the things that you are doing a POC, if it will work or not, but you keep on experimenting so many things that you keep on learning so many things, right? Eventually, even your project is scrap, your feature that you build is scrap, right? But as an engineer, your learning is never scrap. It is going to be helpful in future when you have to make a decision among multiple parameters, right? So trust me, your learning never goes as in scrap. MNCs, talking about in the current scenarios, yes. So why MNCs are good? Because I haven't heard any of the MNCs firing or doing a layoff. But yes, it layoff recession can hit anyone. But again, you can go for MNCs if you are at some good positions. Early stage, I have seen people not getting right side of opportunity, compensation, sometimes they are on bench. They spoil the fire in their blood, right? The early stage energy, the passion they have, sometimes they just spoil if they join a MNC which is not in a rapid mode, which a person is actually looking for, or as a fresher or a starter who wanted to learn, experiment, fail fast, learn fast, right? Sort of environment. Probably if you are one of the person, you should like avoid. But in terms of you want a work life balance, you wanted to have a stable life where you have sort of like a routine where you go in office at certain time and come out of the office, and after that it's chill, dude, like I'm done with my job. So in like everyone have certain stages, different stages in their life. Depending on what sort of personal priorities you have, you can choose which sort of company you wanted to join. But trust me, don't go with the name, go with the intent, like what sort of intent you are looking for, what sort of priorities you are having in life. So okay, well, once again, thanks everyone for warm birthday wishes, and thanks for lovely wishes. Okay, moving on to the next question, guys, feel free to put on your questions. I will be picking almost every question, if possible, if time allows basically, but I will try to answer all of them. Okay, let me see what we have. We have a question from Amrish also. Okay, what should be the answer for when you are asked in an interview to justify your expected CTC? Now it's a very interesting problem. I have heard this problem statement multiple times in a different format. So sometimes people say that I have experience in, say, suppose backend, or I was working as an analyst, and I worked on some other stack altogether. Now I wanted to work as an front end developer. But in front end, I may have just 6 month experience or 1 year experience. Right now, my total experience is like couple of years, but my front end experience just couple of months or a year. Now, if I go and ask for a higher CTC, then that's become a problem, right? So that becomes a problem. And what we should do basically in that particular case, everything is your knowledge. When I say everything is your knowledge, then it meant by, if you have right set of knowledge in front end, you can go and just claim that you are basically working from couple of years. Is just that my profile is something which was talking about the analytics. But if you go and crack the interview with the right set of knowledge, then dude, no one can claim that you are a front end with just 6 months or a year or like 3 year experience. It's just the knowledge during the interview which actually helps you to identify if you are a front end developer with like n number of experience or not, right? Right, then in that particular case, what you are going to do, you are going to say, dude, this is what I hold right now, this is what I'm expecting, and why you are expecting is something that you have to justify. Based on what parameter? First parameter is, in my past company I have worked on so many things, and I was able to deliver so much business impact basically, right? You have to showcase what business impact you have driven. You have to showcase what tech impact you have basically driven in your past organization, in what duration you have done that. And you have to showcase what sort of expectation you have for the next organization, right? So those kind of thing, if you are able to showcase, then you can justify your CTC. It can be 2x also, it can be any X factor. It's just that you should have valid point. It should not be like, dude, I have 10 offers basically, and the last offer that I have is 3x, now I'm looking for 4x. Dude, this is not going to work. Reason is, it may work for a very short duration, but over the period of time, if you see your experience is huge, and your experience is like 3-4 year experience, and you're holding a very huge salary, then it becomes a bottleneck for you, because you can't switch the different organization or the company, right? That becomes a pain point. Okay, now, okay, someone is talking about future of WebAssembly. Have you heard or used it, or heard it being used somewhere? Okay, let's talk about WebAssembly a bit. So people who understand WebAssembly, why it basically like actually enable what it does. It basically enables you to write the code in different language and execute on the browser. Now it's a very interesting thing. So when we say, like earlier, we just know you can run like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or XML, or sort of thing in browser that only executes. You basically can't use any other language in order to code and execute on the browser. Like you can't use Python or Shell or whatever, Scala or sort of thing, right? Now, with WebAssembly, what it says that you can use different languages in order to execute in the browser. It converts into the binary basically, and that binary is far fast compared to what how JavaScript basically executes, right? And why it is basically most of the time used, it is used just for making a complex computation, and so that it can be executed easily and faster. Now, talking about current situation, there are certain companies who are leveraging that. I know I know Figma experimented with it. I definitely know. I have to see if they started using in the production or not, but Figma have already tried. There are tools, there are softwares basically which are related to the gaming, right? So you wanted to play games on web, so for such, you can say, application, I have seen people consuming it. Now, apart from game, I have seen people leveraging it on different thing, which is data analyst or data analytics also. Like when I say data analytics, like you have to play with the huge data, you have to do some massaging and use for some analytics sort of thing. So how people generally use it, they don't run it to the main thread. What they do, they use in the web worker, like they use webassembly along with the web worker in order to make it async and like detach from the main thread, right? So and definitely if I see the future, it solves a lot of problem, it solves a lot of complex problem. It's just that we have to wait and see if it is adopted by the community in a far-fetched way. It's more about the adoption. If people, more and more people come up front and start leveraging with the different use cases, definitely it's going to be a future where you don't have to distinguish I'm a front-end developer or back-end developer, like we started doing in JavaScript. Like you write the JavaScript that works on your browser, and you write the JavaScript that works on your server as a node as well, right? So similar kind of thing, it will widen the scope for other developers also who wanted to work on different languages or expert in different languages, and they wanted to contribute on the front end as well, right? So those kind of widen gate are there. It's just that we have to wait and see. But yes, in terms of experimenting and leveraging that knowledge, I will suggest you should definitely go and give a heads up on that, right? You should must try on that. Okay, someone is talking about, can I get a job in IT after 3 years of career gap? With this, I wanted to start with the example. I know one of my friend, basically, she was a dentist. She's not in India. She had an experience of 5 years as a dentist, and then she decided one day to. I have seen a few of my friend coding, and I started doing coding, and I really leveraged and learned from that. And I that gives me a kick basically when I write a code. And she decided like I wanted to become a like software developer, and she started basically like doing a development, and she switched her career from, you can say, as a dentist to a software developer. And I was like, dude, seriously, like earlier people were having a doubt like I'm a non-technical person or I'm a technical person, but I don't work on like IT or the coding, right? I work on some relevant like analyst, or I have done like ME or any other, I've done a BTech or some other BC or whatnot, right? People are worried about that. Like I wanted to showcase, dude, this is definitely possible that people can change from a different domain altogether. We are talking about just different stream. Look, dude, as a dentist, you are changing your career to a developer, then definitely you are a person who knows something, right? A dentist definitely don't know about the tech, and they are able to do that. Okay, with this, asking in interviews how to overcome the nervousness when the interviewer asks to code for a given layout. Okay, one thing how to get rid of nervousness is, first thing, practice, practice, practice. Like if you don't know the code actually, or you are not technically at least bit strong, I'm not saying you're expert, at least bit strong, then definitely you're going to nervous on the interviews, right? Like you're being asked to write some code or layout and you don't know literally, right? So then how you are going to basically write down the code, because that is the expectation of the interview. But sometimes what happens, people know how to achieve certain things or write the code, it's just that it's a time pressure or the interview pressure or interview FOMO basically, which basically make you nervous. So in such cases, what I will suggest, in the starting of the interview, build a healthy communication with the interviewer. What it meant by, say suppose if your friend is asking you to have some discussion, or your manager or your teammate in the same company where you are working is having some technical discussion, will you have the same nervousness? I don't think you will have same nervousness. Reason is you have a good understanding and bonding with that person. So similarly, assume in the interview also, in the starting of the interview, just spend 1 minute or like 2 minutes in the starting to get familiar with each other, right? So that you don't have this interview nervous kind of thing, right? And on top of it, whenever you have, in the worst case, like if you feel like, dude, I'm damn nervous, I don't have anything, so trust me, do one thing. So just take a long breath and think in your mind, dude, if I don't, the worst thing which I can do is a shit which I am already doing, right? If you are nervous, you are already doing a shit, and that is the worst. So try to handle that scenario. How? Just be calm, and whatever you know, go with that. What worst you will have is a rejection now. That is okay, man. But at least what, like, why do you want it to nervous? Like there is no point, because it is not going to give you any benefit. The interview is not going to excuse to that person is fresher, or he was or she was a nervous. Let me give you excuse for her or him. No, that doesn't is not going to happen, right? So build a strong relationship in the starting so that you don't get nervous, and that helps most of the people. Let me see, we have another question. Let me quick. I'm a developer with 1 year of experience. Is system design important for me, as I haven't faced any system design round in the interview till now? Okay. Most of the time people do ask like, why system design is important when I actually have just started my career. I don't know much about the tech, and now someone is asking me to know the high level stuff. Like, it's simple. I used to give this example or like multiple times and very frequently. So consider, like, almost everyone over here might have done some engineering, electrical engineering stuff in their home, right? Like stitching some wires, or like fixing some issue in their socket, or like connecting few wires, right? Those kind of small stuff you have done. Understand, if you don't understand the basic fundamentals, right? Like, what is this blue wire is for, or black wire is for, or red, or you can say brown wire is for, and you just try stitching that. That is one problem. And second, it can give you short circuit also, or it can give you a shock as well. On the other hand, you don't know, dude, if I how your entire electricity connection in your house is done. You don't know. If you try to stitch that, you try to connect the wire without understanding the entire system, you don't know, you can actually turn down your electricity of your entire house. There can be a short circuit of the in the entire house. So what I meant by, when you are building some software or system, if you don't understand how it is going to impact, whom it is going to impact, how major impact it can cause, what contribution you are making, then trust me, even if you're writing a small utility or a small function, right, it can screw up anyone, right? It can screw up to any extent in the software industry as well, which I, till at this point, I have done some screwed up in my current organization also, because I was not understanding the high level of the existing infra, right? So everything is there for a cause. If you don't understand, you don't have to contribute to every part of the system design, which is okay. But understanding the high level of things is very, very important when you wanted to make impact and make good contribution. Even it is a small module, a small function, or even a small line of code. If you don't understand how it is going to fit in the big ecosystem, trust me, it can screw up to a large extent. Okay, let me see. We have a question from, I did a BCA and then MBA, and now I wanted to make my career in IT as a software developer. So how it will work for me, or what should I do to make it work for me? Okay, as I said, you are a person who did BCA and MBA. You definitely wanted to switch because of two reasons. Because there is a hype of IT industry, your friends may be getting a lot more paid as compared to you, and you feel like, dude, what I'm doing, even I'm making so much effort, I'm not getting worth money. And my friend, basically, who's not investing much, he just goes for work for a couple of hours, he's being paid more than that. Can be one reason. If that's one reason, probably I will say don't switch, right? Second, if your intent is you always wanted to become a software developer and you are making effort for that, you are off your office on weekend, you are learning something related to the software engineering, right? Then trust me, no one can stop you. Like, as I was citing example about the dentist, trust me, you are a person who at least knows, you have done the BCA, right? Like, in that particular case, you at least know some fundamentals of computer science. Probably you can very easily make a switch. But what is required is a passion, dedication. If you're not passionate, dedicated, trust me, you can't think, okay, I will like stop like working in a company for 6 months, and then probably I will try if things works as a software engineer. If I get a job in IT, probably I will switch. Rest I will see. No, dude, it's not going to work. You have to basically, like anyone who starts their startup, they don't start, okay, one day a idea comes their mind, and that is $1 million or $1 billion idea, and the person think, okay, let me quit my job, high paying job, and let's start a startup. No, everyone starts something on their side gig. They evaluate their idea, they check they are passionate enough to give their 100%, right? Then only they make such switch. So for you also, meet what I will suggest. So give a try. If you're not making some investment in the software development, invest on, we can see if it is really giving you a kick. If it is really giving a kick, trust me, you have to invest for a couple of months, and then you can take a hard call. Let's start appearing for the IT jobs. And trust me, in interviews, you have to just convince, you have to crack those interviews like anything. and no one worries about your background. And in your case, you have a win-win situation. You have a BCA man, like you don't have to worry about. You have some fundamentals around you. Okay, let me quickly try to pick questions from the chat. Okay. 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 Someone is asking me. Okay, there's a question. I'm good in JavaScript compared to the CSS. How to master there? What sources to follow? Okay, I can Arpan, I can give you a lot of sources on the on my via LinkedIn. Also, I can put a post which talks about what are the best sources for the CSS. What I will suggest, important thing in CSS is like JavaScript. Definitely, you know the concept fundamentals, and whenever you try to apply, you can remember those concepts and try to apply that concept. That happens. But trust me, with CSS, this doesn't happen. You may be a champ in CSS, you know all the shit like concept about CSS. If you haven't practiced a lot different situation and scenarios in CSS, trust me, it is not going to work. Reason is CSS has lot of thing which actually impact due to inheritance. Like if you don't understand specificity, especially, right, trust me, it is going to impact you like anything, and your concept will go for a toss when you try to apply some fundamental theories that you have learned. And when you try, dude, it is not getting applied because that element or that particular section may be impacted because of something is getting inherited from the parent, right? So how to master CSS? First thing, you have to practice. Practice how? Practice different scenarios. Don't practice the simple thing. And what you can do, how to practice, go and open any of the application, complex application, like go to the Facebook, go to the LinkedIn, and different places. You see a pop-up model comes, go and try to see the properties. Try to play by changing the properties on the dev tool and try to achieve the intent. Say suppose you wanted to place the logo from one place to the other place, try to play with the CSS in the dev tool and see if you are able to achieve those things without changing the DOM elements, right? So that's how you can basically master. That is the best thing which I will recommend, that makes you expert. Okay, now let's see. Okay, we have other questions also. Okay, I'm a 9-year Angular developer, joined a new company after Diwali 2 weeks before, got a opening package. Okay, but looking at a work culture of 3 weeks, I feel to resign immediately. So, Ketan, you have to understand, you might have joined that company in a firefight mode. What it meant by, there may be something like it happened in my organization also. Someone joined at the time when we are planning for a big release, right? And at that time, definitely everyone was working around the clock in order to achieve a common goal. And if you join company in such a rapid fire mode, then you will see like culture is screwed up. Like no one is talking about the fun. Everything is about work. Day and night people are talking about work. It may be just eventually a time when you actually entered. So take an example. You go to example some sadhu mahatma place which is supposed to be very peaceful, where you get divine and lot more thing, right? But you ended up going on some festival or something, and you see so many crowd, people are rushing here and there, and so many mess up. Will you think that that place is not for divine, or you can say for from spiritual thing? No, it's not the case. It's just that the moment when you enter that place, it was having some different priorities, and because of that, you felt the environment is not for you, right? So discuss with your colleagues, discuss how generally the atmosphere is, culture is it the same rapid fire across the year, or it's just the time when this is happening. So discuss more with your colleague who are there in the company or your team, basically for a longer duration. And still if you feel like it is the same like rapid fire culture, and you are not basically like you are not looking for what the company is basically expecting, then probably you should either like, it's just a matter of 3 weeks, right? If you have better opportunity, you can basically switch, but don't resign until unless you have another option or opportunity in your hand. Never ever resign and sit idle in, especially at the time of the hard time which is going around, right? No, let's not do that. I won't recommend. Okay, someone is asking me, please make more videos on Chakde system design. Yes, so trust me folks, I am working on a lot of interesting things. It's just the matter of time. I have a lot of commitment in my current organization also. I'm just trying to balance it out. And one support definitely I need. I just reached a small milestone, which is 5K. I need your support to share it on your network, spread the Check the System design series, so that more and more people can follow. So when people follow and give you a like feedback, like how it is impacting and changing their life, trust me, that gives you a passion. Like it actually sometimes don't let me sleep. I'm trust me, I'm recording sometime like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning in order to deliver something. Like I what I get out of these videos is a love from you guys, right? The impact basically these videos are creating and the life changing movement it is bringing. Like I know people from Atlassian, from people like Microsoft, people, companies from FAANG to, you can say, a big product based company to MNCs. Like I can name n number of companies where people are getting placed after watching the videos and they are appreciating. Today also I got a ping from someone shipping like I got in Microsoft long back, and I just joined the team, and basically I wanted to thank. So this gives a immense pleasure, basically the impact basically being created. It's just that I need support from each and every one, so that if this grows, I will be forced to basically make more and more investment in this. So someone is asking for the address, so thanks for lovely wishes everyone, but sorry, like your love, if you wanted to gift me something, just put a post, share this video, share the Check the System design. That's the best gift you can basically send me. So don't worry about investing the money. It's just that just invest some time in order to make this big. That's all the investment I need, folks. Okay, there is someone who is asking. Okay, happy birthday. Thanks, Amit. First of all, I'm a front-end developer now using plain.js in my company, and React is not used at all. Okay, but work culture is top good. So I'm confused whether to switch or not. So you should not worry about. So again, sometimes people wanted to switch their organization because they think I'm not doing the right stack. I'm not working on the right stack. Maybe in you can say market, some other framework is much popular, right? And you're working on something which is very old. But in your case, you are working on like vanilla JS, right? It can never be old, dude. Trust me. People who are expert in vanilla JS, they become the architect. They become seniors. People who are damn good in one framework or not, they never achieve the milestone as faster as compared to you, right? Reason is that a fundamental. Like this decade is all about React. What about the next decade? Next decade can be maybe Angular JS, it can be Vue, or it can be Svelte, it can be anything that come up altogether new, right? So never ever misinterpret that you are not doing something good just because you are working on vanilla JavaScript. Never ever underestimate the power of vanilla JavaScript. So if you have very strong understanding, you can learn any framework just a matter of 2 weeks. Trust me. Like you take any new framework, you put down just 2 weeks, learn that and try using that. Eventually you will master that. And if you are waiting like I will become expert in a certain framework, then only I will start leveraging or using, it will never end, dude. Like trust me, in my current organization also, we are building a lot of complex designs, you can say design patterns, right? We are reusing multiple design patterns. We are reusing a lot of, you can say, data structures in order to solve the problems on the web also, right? So it's just that your fundamentals are strong. You don't have to worry about the framework. It's just a matter of few weeks. I've seen people learning those in a week or so and getting started. Like you should have just broad mind. Like if a given a complex problem, I am able to learn new stack, new framework, and I am able to leverage that. That's all. Okay, now an interesting problem I have. Okay, how to overcome with the corporate politics in the terms of work-life balance and the money, Vishal. Thanks for asking me this lovely question, because you will eventually see in big organization, when you have so many people in the organization, sometimes you feel like there is some corporate politics which is going on in terms of multiple things. One, work life balance. Some people are having a work life balance and some people are screwed up, like they are like working like day and night and no one is recognizing their effort. Sometimes there is a gap in terms of the compensation you are getting. Mostly in big companies you won't see that delta in terms of money, because they have ranges, and most of the brackets, if you are senior or which level you are, it will lie in some certain bracket, few lakhs here and there, but not a big gap. But in the startup you will face this problem, or early stage companies where they have just started, they wanted to pay like anything for people who are literally devoted and working like anything and making an impact in their company, right? So in those cases you will see that. But again, talking about the politics wala part, now why we feel there is a politics is like, if you become some ex minister, I won't just wanted to name, and you are not communicative enough. Like you don't communicate what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're contributing openly with everyone, right? You're not sharing your effort that you are making. Then how the world will know, how your team will know, how your seniors will know that this person is damn good, who is making effort, and we are not recognizing because he's not communicating. Always try to communicate. How? One, try to give more and more demos. Like whatever you work on, give those demos, share those gif or videos in your team, like this is a cool feature that I worked or introduced. If you introduce some new library or some common utilities, do share with more people and ask people to leverage and utilize and try that out, right? That will make you more popular and people will get to know, oh, these are the feature or something that this person have built or this person have invested or contributed in, right? Always do that so that people are aware that you are making impact and effort and contributing that, right? So people won't take you for granted. So most of the time what happens, your credit is being taken by seniors or someone else when you are not communicative enough. What you do, you just sit, you do your work and you go home, right? That's a problem. You have to start communicating, which is very, 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 very important, right, Vishal? So in that term, you will get rid of the corporate politics in terms of work-life balance. Everything will be balanced. It's just that you have to be more communicative. If you are facing some problem, you are getting screwed up in terms of work-life balance. You have to communicate it well with your seniors, with the management, with your manager, that this is a problem which I am facing, and let's work on the solutions toward that, right? That is how you have to basically start with, which is very, very important. So the funda is you have to communicate, so in order to get rid of politics, and trust me, you can't get it. Politics is just a matter of like modifying certain things, modifying certain credits which someone else have done, and you are taking a credit. There's few people who don't do anything. They just take the credit from other people and they just showcase that like they have done everything, and your credit is basically scratched or snatched, right? So in those particular cases, if you are communicating enough, then people know like it's a contribution from you, not someone else. Okay. uh Okay, so people have talked about FAANG. I have already answered that. Okay, someone is asking me a question which is also very important. Let me pick that. So I have an offer from a Web3 based DeFi product based company which has not launched their product yet. It's a VC funded, a small early stage startup, 10 people. Should I join them? Okay, Sandeep, to just answer to take your question. I have one of my very close friends. She's HR and she was working in a like Web3 company, Web3 based company. And what happened basically, there was some discussions and something that was happening. The product they were launched, they had basically launched, that was not working, and there were other set of product that was working for them. Because right now in India especially, like things will work if government is supporting certain things. If government is not supporting, or the rules and regulation of that country is not supporting any stack or technology or anything, right, then definitely that's a problem. So right now kind of Web3 comes under the same parameter, although it's a like hype right now, and it actually solves a lot of problem. I'm not saying it doesn't solve, it really solves the problem. It's just that, is our country ready to set some defined rule which can simplify certain things in order to understand? Either it can be taxation, how we are going to use, what limit or boundaries we wanted to have around it. Until unless we are strong on that, like it will work for a couple of years, no doubt, but will it stay longer in terms of decade or multiple decade? That becomes a question if government doesn't support for that particular country, right? That is one thing basically I wanted to highlight, right? So when I say Web3, I just wanted to cover everything. It can be like anything, even part I'm considering the crypto side of thing as well, right? So that's all basically I wanted to say. So just stay tuned, be more active, and in terms of should I join, take a very cautious call. If that company is very well funded, it's not like you have to evaluate. If that company is having a funding at least for a couple of years, then you can take a hit and you can basically try that out. It's a good like learning you will get in such companies like who are working on the Web3, no doubt. And big companies are investing in that, but again, they can invest because they have a backup plans, they have other things to basically learn from and invest from, right? So that's cool for them. But for small companies, if that is only the source of money or the earning, then if things doesn't go in future well, that can be a problem. But if you're solid in terms of your tech stack and skills, probably if things don't go well, you can switch to the other company. But if you are sure that company is having funding for a couple of years at least, right? If that does not have, I won't suggest at this hard time, not at all. Okay. Okay, someone is asking me interesting questions about the Microsoft only. Okay, so got rejected in the final round of Microsoft for FE role, was asked to create an image clip by the manager, and I didn't remember the CSS props or the offset syntax around that. How to handle rejection at such last stage? Okay, you have to understand, like, what is the intent of people who are asking this question. If a senior person is asking, especially the manager is asking, engineering manager or some director or associate director is basically having a discussion and asking this question, do you really think a person is actually remembering those props, properties, and how to basically use that in the web in order to achieve that? Probably not. I don't think intent of that problem statement is to actually know the syntax in order to basically get it done. It's all about how to handle such scenario, right? What it meant by, you could have started with the abstracted view. What it meant by, have you used certain things like this? Have you seen certain things like this on the web in the real world? Basically, start from the background. Don't think about the problem, especially in the senior round. Don't jump into the solution straightforward what is being asked. Don't cut down your answer in a single word by yes, no, or giving the syntax. That doesn't makes you a senior or doesn't serve the purpose of a question which is asked from a senior person. Wanted to understand bit background. Have you implemented? Do you have knowledge around that? Have you seen somewhere it is implemented? What use cases you see basically in order to implement it in future, if you want, if you are given. Or the last thing is approach. When I say approach, maybe you don't know the syntax, right? If manager asks you in future, I have a feature and this feature requires this things to be done, how you are going to basically solve that problem? So one is definitely you can google it out and search for the exact syntax and exact solution, and you can get it done, right? Other thing is, there can be better approaches, right? Look for, if someone some other companies are basically using, look for, is there any other solution for the same problem statement in order to solve that problem? Like, look for varieties of solution to the same problem. Now share that experience and your process to basically achieve that. And you can, it's completely okay to say that I don't remember the syntax, but I definitely remember the use cases and how to fit this particular use case in different scenarios, right? If you are able to do that, I think manager is more good enough, because he don't want you to become a next Google, right, search, or he don't want to shut down the Google search in the company and want you to basically write the code. It is not going to serve his purpose or the intent of the company. Trust me, that is not going to work. And no one can mug up all the syntax and all possible stuff. People can, if they just do that particular stuff. Like people who just do CSS or HTML or just plain vanilla JavaScript, yes, they can mug up few things and they can blindly write. But people who have diverse knowledge and vast knowledge, trust me, they can't mug up everything. It's not cool. So there is another question basically which is talking about, should I learn Node, PHP? I'm not getting a job, I have front end experience and wanted to move very fast. Okay, this is a good question, Abhi. So definitely no one can stop you in order to move fast. Even if you are expert in front end, no one can stop you to even grow to any extent that you want it to be. There is a myth, people say that you can't grow, you can become an architect by having a solid front end understanding. And there are very good companies where you have those people where they earn like anything, like you can't imagine even, right? Trust me, you can't imagine, like any numbers that you may be having, that may be a lower number what they are actually getting. Now in terms of, if you wanted to move from, say, suppose front end to back end in just order to have more salary package, probably that's a myth. Like you should not switch the different stack just because it is giving you a more salary package. Are you really enjoying? Probably the work that you do on the front end may give you more kick as compared to the work that is done on the back end. Evaluate your passion and your next gig, right? Basically, are you really wanted to do that? Second, like learning Node is completely very easy as compared to the PHP. Reason being, I will tell you, it is very close to, like, you write everything is in JavaScript. You have to just understand few fundamentals of Node ecosystem, and rest is JavaScript. Like you, at the time of syntax or writing some logic, you don't have to understand or recheck some way how to write that. It's just that you have to fit your learning JavaScript learning in the Node.js environment. And most of the places I have seen people using like Node.js as a backend for certain things, especially the as an aggregated layer. So that works. So it becomes very easy also in order to learn the Node.js. You can definitely learn PHP. It is very old and people were using long back, and there are a lot of projects which are still there in PHP, like CMS like WordPress, and there are multiple companies who work on Magento where they like people to come and onboard to the PHP. Trust me, there is no much future or scope in future of which I see, and there are a lot more other language basically that has better future as compared to PHP, which I have seen. So it's there in the market, people are working, they are a project, but in terms of growth, you will see it was something which was in the last decade. It's just that it is still continuing, right? But the future I don't see personally at my level. Okay. Okay, someone is asking me another interesting question. Namrata, happy birthday, Chirag. Thank you, Namrata. My question is: in order to be hired as a React developer, what tech stack do company expect us to know? Do we have to know the React, Next.js, Next Gatsby, and lot more? Okay, if you wanted to get hired as a React developer, you don't have to worry about Next.js, Gatsby, and lot more things. What you should worry about, just two things in terms of scripting, which is very important. You should be very strong in JavaScript, and you should have a good understanding on React. When I say good understanding on React, you should have built some good projects in React. You should have solved some complex problem and solutions in React, so that when a real world scenarios are given, you are able to relate it. Okay, how, if I have to solve this, how I'm going to basically solve using React.js, right? If you're able to do that, that's more than enough. Talking about Next.js, Gatsby, and all sort of thing, you can learn in couple of weeks time. And when you are on board into the company, into the project, you can basically keep on learning and leveraging those knowledge. Those are not big milestone to achieve, like literally speaking couple of weeks time, like you will be able to learn Next.js. When I started learning Next.js, I think I did it in like 2 weeks, 2 days basically. I created a repo altogether where I practice everything related to Next.js, and I solved different use cases. For me it took 2 to 3 days basically. Like depends on person, hardly it is just 2 weeks time. You can learn that and master that, and no one is basically, although if you have those prior experience, it is going to give you a benefit in the interviews, but it is not a mandate basically in the interviews most of the time, especially not in the big companies, not at all. Some startup company may be expecting, okay, I can onboard someone who can basically come and champ and basically start contributing from the day one. That can happen, but that will happen only in the very early stage startup, not in big companies who think about future, not about just solving the problem in coming 1 or 2 months, or something which is just there on their plate in order to solve. Probably not. So such companies do not basically think about people knowing everything on the first day. Okay, let me interesting question. Okay, we have ready. What type of project should we do to get selected in the top companies? As my resume is not getting shortlisted in the big companies, I have good knowledge, but a resume getting shortlisted is becoming difficult. Okay, so for resume selection, one thing I just wanted to say: the next week or next to next week, basically, I'm going to launch another episode with one of the expert in the industry. She's from like top-notch company, and she will be talking about like how to get shortlisted like in big companies basically. Don't worry about that. To answer you quickly over here, few things you have to understand: the way you write the data in your resume is very important, right? So if you don't like express the intent in the resume in the right fashion, that becomes a problem. Like how a person will get to know what sort of experience you have. It's not about the project. Sometimes it's, if you're an experienced person, then what sort of work you have done in past companies matters a lot as compared to your side hustles. Like your past corporate experience is more prioritized as compared to the side hustle, which is very truth. Like no one can deny that. I can bet on that. The reason you are able to evaluate what you do in the corporate, when you do as a side hustle, sometimes the problem is you have experimented, but were you able to validate? That becomes a problem. Couple of things you should understand: for big companies, they start using tools, like they use tools like ATS. Like they your resume is got shortlisted based on some keyword and sort of thing, and that's how it pops up to the HR. And HRs take like 15 to like hardly 10-15 seconds in order to scan your resume and see if this profile is relevant for you. If you are not designing your resume in a proper form, then that's become a problem. How to create a resume in a very like detailed fashion, I will be talking about. You have to think from multiple perspective, like who is basically going to view your resume. So one is definitely a person who's going to take your interview. Second is an engineering manager who's going to basically assess you, your capabilities, not just in terms of the tech but beyond that, right, which is very very important. Third is your HR basically, right? So you have to build your resume considering these three parameters. What are the parameter in detail have to consider, probably I will take in the detailed session over there. So but again, try to focus on ATS, try to focus on some basically how you present your stuff. Don't worry about the project, how many number of projects you are putting in the resume, probably that does not help in order to get shortlisted. But yes, always write down what contribution you have made in the basically project, which is very very important. Instead of writing this was a project and it does this, what you did in that project is very very important. You can do n number of projects, and even you can learn everything from a single project. So most of the folks are, what I tell, go and build a e-commerce website. So people say, oh, I build a e-commerce website in 2 days or within a week. What is special it is? Trust me, if you are a person who can build a e-commerce website, then probably should we fire the entire Amazon, Flipkart and such companies if you are a person who can build a entire e-commerce website in a single day. You just didn't solve the complex part of that application, that's all. So it doesn't matter how many number of projects you are doing, it's just that how in depth the problems or the complex problem of that system or the project you are solving. So always focus on the variety and diversity of the projects that you basically work on, or the problem statement. Don't worry about the number of projects basically you work on. That doesn't serve. Like if you solve the same problem again and again in a repeated fashion, like, to trust me, it is not giving benefit to anyone. Okay, let me see, there is a question from someone else. Okay, someone is asking, okay, art of coding, how to read the documentation of anything, say React, Docs, or MDN as language is bit tricky over there. Okay, now you have to understand, most of these documentation are not a storyteller, right? Or these are not a novel or something that you will enjoy reading it, right? The intent of these documentation is crisp and clear. What it meant by, if you're looking for something, you can directly chip into that. They will give you a short story or short snippet or a small description. You have to understand from few words and you have to basically leverage that. Now, how basically people start leveraging that? If you understand fundamental meanings around those particular statement or the concept that you're looking for, it is very easy for you to grab that knowledge. But if you don't understand the fundamentals around that, that becomes a pain point. That's why you will see most of the senior folks basically leverage the things from documentation, official documentation, and people who have started their career, they go for blog or they go for a very complex, you can say, like books in order to understand that definition or how to basically consume. The difference is, eventually you start leveraging the fundamentals that makes that one line or one paragraph more than enough in order to understand what the intent of that particular thing is or documentation is. So try to understand fundamentals more and more so that it becomes easy for in order to leverage those documentation. Trust me, documentation is the best thing, official documentation is the best thing anyone should refer to, because that is actually the source of truth. And that will definitely work if someone have written over there, and there is issue, you can obviously claim that, but that works. So what I will again suggest, reading documentation becomes very easy when basically you know the fundamentals. If you don't understand the fundamentals, it is going to be a bouncer. So grab on fundamentals and leverage the expertise of the document, the expert who have written those documentation. Okay, so now someone is asking my one of the favorite basically question. Let me pick that. Okay, so bhaiya, DSA requires a lot of patience. 2 hours in one question is invested. What to do? So Tanay, basically I wanted to help you with certain things. It's as simple as, like, when you were child, chota bacha, what, like, in order to move from your, like, maybe from your bed to outside of your room, or who is someone, say suppose your dad is calling, like 10 step away, like it takes you around a couple of minutes, or sometimes you even are not able to reach to your dad or someone who is calling. Did you stop basically trying, making effort to reach over there? You stopped basically walking and trying, like, did you do that? No. So what you did, that was just a start of your career, and you were learning how to basically, like, walk, and it took you long time, but eventually you are getting a benefit, like you can now run, like even you can jump from like 10 meter or some distance, right? So that you can cover that area, tricks and everything in order to achieve that particular goal in a very short duration. So my what is my intent over here is, you should not worry about how much time it is taking. You should focus on what actual intent or benefit it is going to give you. Now, how to remove this boredom of this 2 hours, because at that time you are not mature enough and now you are more mature, right? Where you started thinking, dude, oh, it is taking me 2 hours, should I invest this in something else? Should I instead of this, I should invest on like earning money instead of investing on my learning. What I will suggest, have a time box, so that you have a mix of both. What it meant by, I will try this question for maybe if you're starting your like DSA problem, I will invest, say suppose, for 45 minutes. If I'm not able to solve this problem in 45 minutes, I will go and check the answer in terms of what algorithm it is written. Then again I will close that, go back and try again that algorithm into the real implementation, and I will try to code that, right? That is one way. Time box, like if you don't time box, then obviously there is a boredom which is involved in that. So try to do that. One is then eventually after a couple of weeks or a month, reduce that time. Like instead of going for 45 minutes, you basically make it 30 minutes, then eventually make it 15 minutes, then eventually make it 5 minutes. Reason being, earlier you were taking more time and you may be doing some big mistakes. Eventually when you start practicing, then you will be making very small silly mistake. And for silly mistakes, why to waste your maybe 30 minutes? It's just that learn from your silly mistakes, what sort of mistake you keep on doing on a repeated fashion, right? So that's how you can remove your boredom. Boredom basically start from 45 minutes to 30, then to 15, then probably if you're not able to solve the problem in 10 minutes, go and try to check the algorithm, right? So depending on the complexity of the problem, obviously if it is a hard problem and you are not able to solve in 5 minutes, I will go and check the answer. That is probably not going to work. Okay, so folks, I will be taking few more questions and we'll see how it goes. So I see a lot of question from folks. Let's try to. I will try to answer almost all the questions. Uh, okay. Oh, now person is asking me an interesting question. Okay. So, Meet is asking, in HR round, what if HR asked me that you have applied anywhere? Then what would be the proper answer? Very interesting problem. Now, in this case, you can't lie, and in this case, you can't hide. So, what I meant by, now you have to definitely place a strong hold, or you have to basically put yourself very strong in respect of that company. What it meant by, you have to convince, yes, I have applied in multiple companies, but I'm really looking to join whatever company the HR you are basically talking to with. So I'm really looking to join this company because of so and so reason, but as I can't be like, I'm really looking for switching, and I, what if like things does not go in my favor in for this particular company? That's why definitely I have applied in multiple companies, and just I wanted to also see if I'm my learning is appropriate as per the corporate what people are expecting in different companies and the market. That's why I have applied in different companies. But if things goes well in the current organization, my first preference will be so and so company where you have applied. So in this particular way, what you are saying, yes, I'm looking for other opportunities. I'm not just dependent on this particular, you can say, company. That gives you, dude, take me serious. Like if you hold me for a couple of week or month, I will get back to you, which is a very famous quote from most of the HR. Probably I will have another offer and I will switch. I won't wait for that duration. That is one intent of this. Second intent of this is, you're also saying if you roll out me offer, I'm not going to actually look for the other opportunities, because like my first priority is this, and because of so and so reason. So try to justify with a solid reasons, and just don't talk about bullshit that sometimes doesn't help. People are smart enough, and especially HR have seen the world more than you in terms of hiring and what sort of excuses basically people give, right? So justify in a fair fashion. Okay, so let me see another question. Okay, so someone is talking about, Nikunj is talking about, asking, are there career growth in the front end? Because I see most of the engineering manager and the architect are from the back end stack. No, so that's not truth. I will tell you, I've seen so many Especially architect, I have seen so many architects who are purely on the front end side. Talking about engineering manager, I've seen so many engineering manager who are like, even in the Flipkart, even in like Microsoft, in so many companies I have a lot of my friends who were front end developers, even in the Hotstar and so many companies who are right now are EM basically, and they were pure on the front end side of thing. But with this, you have to understand one important thing. When I say you are a front end engineer and you can become a engineering manager and architect, I am not saying that you know nothing about backend system or system design, you can become a engineering manager and architect. Trust me, dude, this is not going to happen. Reason: front end and back end does not work in isolation. Any of the project that need to be delivered to the end customer doesn't work on isolation. Things go in parallel. What it meant by, if you are given a very small problem statement, like you have a search, right? And search need to be implemented. You are an engineering manager, you have to take a call, okay, where the search need to be implemented, either on the back end or the front end. How you're going to take a call if you don't understand the complexity on the other side of the shoes, or the in the other shoes, right? Then what it meant by, what you have to do, if you don't understand what sort of data, how much data you are having, you have to build a search query. Also, you can have to build the infinite query, infinite scroll sort of implementation. You can't load the entire TB data in the browser and do a local search if you don't understand. On the other side, you don't understand the complexity on the backend, right? Say suppose there is a list of states basically that need to be basically used as a filter, and you are basically going in a debate with someone or engineering manager, dude, as it is a search, this search should be supported from backend. At least hear it out. Is this a list which is not going to change very frequently? Then why do you want it to put in the database? Probably there can be a better place. Why do you want to implement a search which is a dynamic, not a static? And like the country's name or the state name is something which is very very static, right? Which is not changed over the period of time, right? Or you can say in a week or so it doesn't change, right? It is not depending on the user. Those call you can take when you are person who understand both the side of thing, expert in one but at least understand the problems from the other shoe. That will make you grow as an engineer manager, architect, whatever, what not you can think of, right? So trust me, you don't have any boundaries. And especially becoming an engineering manager becomes very very easy if you are very strong in terms of understanding user behavior, understanding users better, right? Experiences better. Because person who's working in the backend sometimes are not able to understand the experience wala part, right? That becomes a pain point if you are going to lead a team which is working on the experience side of stuff. So for that you have to basically think about this. Okay, now let me try to figure it out. As I said, guys, I have some giveaways that I will be giving by selecting certain names. I will be pinging on LinkedIn also, and basically in that particular case, you will get a chance to one-to-one connection with me, and I will be giving you a mentorship around that. So, okay, so uh, let me figure out some other questions around that. Okay. So someone is asking me. So Pratyush, again. So I think I have answered your question in the starting of the discussion. Probably you can go and repeat that, and you will get an idea. Okay. So Jayant have asked a question. Let me try to see what he's looking for. I have 1.5 year of experience and joined on the organization 3 months back. I'm not upskilling here and just solving the bugs. For the folks here are highly knowledgeable, but what would you suggest switch or okay something? Sometimes you have to understand, yeah, being me at a very senior level, when I joined like my organization earlier days, I was also doing the same thing. Like, why solving a bug is important instead of building a feature? You have to understand how things works. You have to understand the architecture framework, right? You have to give a space and time for yourself also, so that when you go in a full flash mode in order to build a feature, you understand the impact it can create, right? The things that you have to take care while building a feature, right? And definitely about the ecosystem and everything, which is very very important. It's not about going day one building something cool crazy feature and building shipping it to the millions of folks. No, sometimes like slow and steady wins the race, right? You have heard about that. That happens with good and big organization. From the day one, you should not expect to solve a complex problem. You should think about understanding the system in depth, and the best way is to solve the bugs. Reason, when you build a new feature, you know you are going to write the code mostly from the fresh. You know this is your code basically, and you have written this condition or that logic because of so and so reason. When you solve a bug, then you don't know anything, dude. Like, what was the intent of the developer when he wrote this code? Like, sometimes you don't find a better method name also, or better documentation. You don't find even the reference of the PR in which this change was done, like depending on how well the product management is, or you can say engineering management is done in your company, right? Or software development practices are followed. What I meant by now, knowing, like in an abstracted or a black box system, you are going to touch upon certain things. You will try to touch upon so many areas, you will try to connect with so many different folks or engineers in order to understand why these things were done in the first place. It's not about changing the condition from not to allow, right, and to or. Dude, it can make a lot huge shit in the production if you don't understand why there was a not and or. You probably may be thinking on one scenario, and the and or was written because of n number of other reasons, right? So it's not a small problem that you are solving, you are solving a big complex problem. And solving good critical bugs sometimes are more valuable than fixing building a feature. So don't never ever underestimate the power of solving bugs, dude. Like, I was really appreciated for, like when I joined the company, I was really appreciated for a complex bug that wasn't solved for last 4 years in my same project, and like I was able to fix that in a couple of days when I joined the company. So sometimes it's not about like volume that you are shipping, it's more about the impact that you are delivering, either it is via bug or a feature. You don't have to differentiate on that, you don't worry about that. Now, in terms of switching, at least give some time, dude. Like, don't think about switching your job because you in the last 3 weeks, basically last 3 months, you were not able to ship a lot of, you can say, features. Don't worry about that, it's just a matter of time. And eventually, like, try to participate more in discussions, right? Engineering discussion, design discussion. Connect with your manager, like seek for, like, tell them that you are looking for building some cool features and you wanted to contribute and make bigger impact, right? He will help you, but at least tell the intent, like, I have learned so many things, I have better understanding of the system, now it's time for me to contribute back to the system, right? This is how basically it will help, and it will grow, and it will be in favor of both. But at least try to understand your current system, which is very, very, very important. Okay, so someone is asking me another interesting question, which is, okay, Pranay, very happy birthday, Chirag. Okay, so congratulations for reaching 5K milestone. Thank you, Pranay. What is more important skill to get in the FAANG DSA part or the development part? What do you they focus more on project or the logic? Okay, I will tell you what is more focused and why that is more focused, right? When you are early stage in your career, right? What is important? Definitely a problem solving is very, very important, because people do understand you might have not done lot of development, and you might not have impacted lot of, might not have done a very complex solution to a problem, like you might not have solved the complex problems also, right? Which is okay. But are you a good problem solver? Which meant by, if I give you a problem statement, it's not about just DSA, it's always about problem solving. If I give you a complex problem, what is your approach to solve that problem? How do you break that problem into a small chunk, right? Which is very, very important. And similarly, what's like how you approach to those small chunk, and how you fit all those things in order to make it as a proper solution. DSA is just for optimizing those things, like either the space or the time complexity is something that you are optimizing in terms of the DSA, which is toppings on top of it. But are you a good problem solver, which is very, very important, and that is expected from almost all the FAANG or the big product based company. Reason is, again, your learning or development may be on a certain areas, and that may be very, very, very limited, right? In future, if someone, there is a new complex problem that need to be solved in your organization, you might not have solved similar problem. Then what will happen? Like, you can't do all hell like of development in your past and then expect like similar kind of problem I will get in future. You will definitely get new sort of problem. How you are going to approach that problem is something people wanted to judge in the FAANG or any of the product based companies. Now, coming to specific to the DSA, trust me, the weightage of the kind of problems that are asked in DSA for a front end engineer is comparatively low as compared to the backend. In backend, people do ask like hard question, but for front end, I haven't seen people asking the hard side of question. But yes, you should know the easy and the medium side of question. Reason being, people wanted to understand how you basically approach to a problem statement. Trust me, people who says that you don't know you don't require problem solving at all for the front end. I take anything. I have solved complex problem in a real world related to the tree, related to the linked list, related to the stack queue, right? There are n number of features that I have built on top of it. Like you have a dynamic questionnaire, basically based on certain parameter, you will be able to select certain options based on the user answer. You will get another set of question and all sort of complex things I have solved using the tree, right? Using graph, I have solved a lot of complex problem. The same tree become a graph when there was a link between a particular node. You can go back to a certain question back if you don't answer or you get into certain loop, right? They are complex thing. Talking about undo redo, like you have your history navigation, you can do undo redo sort of thing. Those are the real world problem basically you solve on using these things, right? Which is very important. So what I will suggest, focus on problem solving, not just the DSA. Even your time complexity is higher, which is okay, which eventually you can find a better solution and solve that with a less, you can say, complexity. But are you able to solve that problem is something which is very important, and you should basically focus on that. And product development, your expertise is something which is going to help you to grow. If you are not expert in the area which you are working on, trust me, that will become a pain point. So if you have to make a weightage, focus on problem solving, not DSA. Second, in terms of your development, try to become expert in area which you work on. Like it may be any stack, any programming language, or anything whatever you work on, right? Which is again very important. So this is what I wanted to basically talk about. Okay, let me see some other questions if I have. Okay, so there are so many. Sorry, folks, if I'm not able to take you any of your question, feel free to ping me on the LinkedIn. I will try to basically answer almost all the questions which are not answered over here. But yes, I am trying to figure it out if I missed anything. Uh, okay. Uh, okay, so people have talked about applying into the companies but not getting the reply. I have already talked about. Okay, someone is talking about, do I? Okay, this is an interesting problem. Let me try to take it up. Okay, so okay, do I need to learn the CI/CD workflow, GitHub Action, cloud services like AWS, EC2, Elasticsearch, Beam, Stark, etc. as a front-end developer? No. Why? Because in most of the big companies, you will find there is a DevOps roles basically who takes care of these responsibilities, setting up these pipeline, using this and whatnot. But in a startup, basically you will find there are the expectation where you will be going contributing, setting up your pipeline and whatnot. Now, what I meant by it is not mandatory, but if you wanted to grow, right, you should know how these things works. Like you may not be expert in those areas, but at least someone talk about CI/CD, you should know what is the intent of this, right? At least someone says, I have set up a CI/CD pipeline, can you do a deployment? Although you have to just go and click on a button by selecting few parameter that will help you to deploy in any of the environment, either that is test, pre-prod, or production. So are you able to understand those, at least those fundamentals, so that you can reduce the dependency on other folks? Like you made some changes, you wanted to deploy on staging machine so that testers or anyone else basically can try it out, and you're depending on DevOps. Dude, once a DevOps will come, he will deploy my branch on staging, and then probably it will unblock other people. So trust me, that is not going to work. Reason is, you created a dependency for a small thing, and that small thing probably you can learn. Like it's as simple as, instead of standing on your gate in order to open the gate whenever there is a guest entry, right? You deliver that responsibility or add some meaningful information over there so that folks are able to achieve that, right? Similarly, like CI/CD pipeline or GitHub Action or any of these, you can say, service, it's a very small, at least fundamentals, or you're able to, if I give you a documentation one pager, please use these step or thing in order to make a deployment using EC2, or basically you can make some GitHub Action or modify a small snippet or some statement inside that GitHub Action that will help you to set up a new pipeline or actually fix a bug. You should know those fundamentals, so that if someone is guiding you, at least are you able to follow that person in order to fix that thing or consume that thing, is more than enough. People are not expecting you become expert and set up your own CI/CD pipeline or GitHub Action in order to achieve big things. No, You become expert in what you do. Ours over here. So, folks, I will be taking a lot more questions on the. Feel free to chip in on the LinkedIn. I will be happy to take those questions. And I just started this live stream. If you love the things that we discussed, feel free to share it to in your community, in your channel. Like share like anything, show your love so that we can do this more frequently. So that will give me more boost to come online and like takes the question from like online audience and help people to achieve this more and more often, right? So for that I need your support and love. So if anyone wanted to basically connect with me, you can ping me on the LinkedIn if you are basically not aware of that. And you can also ping me on the Telegram. I will try to answer your question. Put your post comments on the LinkedIn. I will be happy to basically answer almost all the questions related to the giveaway. I'm going to choose 5 people from the conversation that we had. I'm going to pick randomly 5 people, and depending on the interaction that we did over here, and I will be sharing one-to-one connection link on the LinkedIn as well, and we will have one-to-one connections over there. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully you get a ping on your inbox on the LinkedIn in order to get a one-to-one connection over there. So once again, thanks a lot, everyone. Basically, I know there are so many interesting things people are talking about. People are talking about salary and almost all other interesting things. So no, I'm not going to talk about the salary expect right now. So once again, thanks for showing love and staying so long. Basically, I was not expecting it is going to be 1.5 hours. It's very very long, but yeah. Thanks for me from my side. Thanks for the Check the System Design series. Thanks for love. Do keep sharing your love. Spread Check the System Design series so that it can help more and more folks. And we'll see you. We'll connect very soon again on the live session, and we'll do some crazy thing. I'm happy to do something live on terms of coding, answering any sort of questions basically you have in future. But again, I need your support. I need your love, more and more love and support. So with this, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for coming and joining and making my birthday a wonderful and like memorable birthday for me. Thanks a lot, everyone.